A lot of writers can't tell the difference between a plot and a story, and it's not necessarily their fault. And this is because there is no rock solid official definition of what a plot is and what a story is. Depending on which writing guide you use or which writing website you go to, you might hear that a plot is X and a story is Y. But then you go to another website and then you hear that a plot is actually Y and a story is X. And then you go to a third and then they say one is Z and the other is Q, and you don't know what to think. And today I want to simplify things. I want to give you my own personal definitions of what a plot is and what a story is. I'm going to make it so that it's easy to understand and it's just clear and to the point. By the way, my name's Brandon McNulty. I'm the author of Bad Parts. I'm also the author of Entry Wounds, and welcome to my writing channel. When we're talking about story and plot, I consider them two separate things. A plot is a sequence of related events that are caused by characters and their choices. Plot is what happens within a work of fiction. And I would take it a step further and I would say that plot is the dry, bare bones events. We're not worried about who these characters are as people. We're not worried about the emotional stakes or where they come from, what their background is, or what their motivation is. We're strictly looking at the events. Picture yourself flipping through television channels and maybe you stumble upon a sporting event you've never seen before and you don't know who the players are on the field, you don't know where the game is being played or when it's being played or what the location is, or you don't know anything about this event. You don't know what's at stake for the different teams or the different players. All you know is what you see going back and forth. The ball is being kicked or thrown or whatever it is. You're watching the events on the screen, and that is the plot within the work of sports fiction, if you want to think of it like that. Plot is strictly the bare bones events. Now let's talk about the difference between a plot and a story, and it's very simple. A plot is a sequence of events within a story. So this definition of plot ends with within a story. And what I'm saying here is that plot is just a part of story. In my mind, a story is made up of several different parts, and plot is one of the major parts. So whenever I hear about plot and story, I automatically think that, okay, well, story is more than just the events that happen there. Story is also influenced by the characters as well as the setting and other major things. And I think there are 5 specific things, and I'm going to break them down into the 5 W's. And what I'm going to say they are is the who, what, when, where, and why. These are the 5 things that make up a story. So when we're talking about the who, we're talking about the characters in the story, who the people are, what they do for a living, what they're trying to accomplish. Then we move on, we talk about the what, and this is the plot. This is the events that take place in the story. And these events are, of course, driven by the characters. Then we move on to the when, and the when is more than just the time period in which the story takes place. The when can also include things like backstory and lore, things that existed before the events of the story, things that we might not see on the page or we might not see on the screen. And then one final thing that I would include when talking about the when is the structure of the story. A lot of stories nowadays are told in a non-linear order, meaning that you might go to the movies and the very first scene in a movie might show the main character breathing his final breaths. But instead of the movie just ending right there, we're taken back in time and we are then shown how the character got to that point in time. And then at the very end, we get back to that first moment we saw at the very beginning of the movie and we see the character die, or maybe they're rescued or whatever it may be. But oftentimes stories nowadays are told in a non-linear order, so the when is a very important factor and it influences how we interpret a story. Then after the when, we have the where, and the where is more than just the setting and the world building. It also includes the different point of views that we get in the story. And this can change how we feel about the story if we jump between different point of views. For instance, if we have a story where we have a group of heroes going up against an evil overlord or something like that, we might feel good about our heroes early on if we're getting one particular point of view. Maybe we have the point of view of the protagonist, and our protagonist is somebody we trust, and we see that all the heroes are working together to try and stop this overlord. But maybe later on we jump to another point of view. We go to a different location inside another character's head. And when we see things things from the point of view of this other character, we realize that this group is about to be betrayed by one of their own. And what this does, it changes our interpretation of the story, and it changes how we feel about the characters and their odds. And then the fifth and final W is the why. And this is the emotional stakes at the heart of the story. I talked about stakes in a recent video, and when it comes to emotional stakes, it's really all about what matters to the characters in your story. If they're going after something, what do they stand to gain, and also what do they stand to lose? These types of emotional stakes are critical to a story, and it's why we care about a story. It's not enough to just have characters creating events in a certain place and time. We also need to understand what is at stake for these characters, and if we truly get invested in them, that's when a story hits the mark. You really want to hit on all 5 of these different parts of a story, and plot is just one of them. So next time you're confused about the difference between plot and story, remember that plot is just a part of story, at least in my definition, and this is not the official definition, but I think it's easy to break down the idea of story into these 5 parts and look at plot as the events, and then also remember that there are 4 other major parts that need to be addressed. And if you do address all these parts, you will start writing great stories. So I hope this helps. Question of the day: which one of the 5 major parts that I mentioned are you most comfortable with? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to support the channel, please pick up a copy of either one of my books. Also, be sure to check out my other videos. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for me. Share this video with a friend. And as always, remember to keep on writing.